in my passenger seat. Okay, and I think I found that. That's the one I have that.
Last time we were here before, I was so rudely interrupted by showing my chart report.
That's great.
I have made modifications to it, and as soon as I get by, get some more. That has exhausted my color printer card, actually. I gotta get another one, but when I get that finished, I'll put it up on the wall on the ramp going down to the basement. My next project, I'm gonna work on one that's a timeline from Abraham up through Mary and Jesus, showing that both through Joseph as his adopted father, he's in the line of David, and also through Mary, he's physically in the line of David as well. And then from there, we'll work on our timelines for what we call, quote-unquote, modern Christian history. We're dealing with, again, the higher critics, which have been the cancer on the Christian church for the last 150 years or so. And more often than not, the ecclesiastical authorities in the various denominations have surrendered ground at this point and have accepted the premises of the higher critics and no longer believe that the Bible is the sole rule for faith and practice. It's not the Word of God as we regard it. And so we're looking at some of the areas where they argue that the Bible is not reliable. We're up here to well, the second of the arguments. The last argument was that the Old Testament Pentateuch was not authentic, not written by who the Bible claims it was written by Moses. They have all these spurious authors, and they didn't write it until a period of post-exile. Now, the second point is they reject all natural events, miracles recounted in the Scripture. They reject them as exaggerations, myths, and legends. And since these things are not reliable, then the Bible itself cannot be reliable. And okay, here we go. Is it up here? We're looking at four specific events that they reject as being unreliable. One was creation, we talked about that. We're working on the flood right now. And then they also reject the exodus of Israel from Egypt to the crossing of the Red Sea and the fall of Jericho. We contend that these events are so momentous, so, as far as the flood is concerned, so cataclysmic, that they must have left evidence behind. And there is evidence to show that these things occurred. But if you start from a presupposition of the Bible critics, they don't accept the evidence. But if you are predisposed to faith in Christ, then the evidence makes perfect sense, and it proves our point. The common theme of all these is judgment. The creation, we have the judgment of Adam and Eve for their disobedience. At the great flood, there was a judgment on all mankind for their corrupt wickedness. The exodus of Israel and the judgment on Egypt was for the hardening of Pharaoh's heart. And then the fall of Jericho was a judgment for their extreme paganism and possible child sacrifice. One of the archaeologists I was reading, they have excavated in Jericho and other cities, and they have found these little earthen jars that contain the skeletal remains of children, which they believe were the victims of child sacrifice So when the Lord told Israel to go into the land of Canaan and to utterly wipe his people out, it was a judgment. They were being judged for their heinous sins. Evidences for the flood. We have the scriptures. We went through some of these last week. I can't remember where I stopped off or where I got to, so I'm repeating myself. Just talk about my senility. Job 22, 15, 16, 17. Hast thou marked the old way which the wicked men have trodden, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overflown of a flood? Which heavenly God depart from us, what can the Almighty do for them? And Isaiah, for this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah shall no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee nor rebuke thee. And then Jesus Christ himself has searched the validity of the story of the flood with his accounts of Noah. And then the Holy Spirit, through inspiration, through the apostles, again reaffirms the flood accounts. And these things are presented as facts. They're established facts. There's no debate. There's no speculation. And with Christ himself and the Holy Spirit through the apostles, these are matters of fact. Now, the Bible also tells us certain things about what was going on in the world at the time. Matthew 24, 37, 39, and Luke 17, 26, 27 tells us that they were going about their business, having a gay old time, eating, drinking, marrying. Genesis 6:5 tells us that there was unbridled wickedness on the earth. We also see that they were busying themselves with city building. I don't know if you have your scriptures with you, but I believe it was, we start here, Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, and he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. We also see they were pursuing the arts. We see a list of some of the descendants of Cain and some of the things they were responsible for. 21, see Genesis 21. We have agriculture. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle, or let's see, go back further. And Adam bare Jubal. He was the father of such as dwelt in tents and such as had cattle. And then there was a manufacturing industry. We have all in the pursuit of the arch. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all such that handled the harp and the organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. So we have all of these things occurring before the great flood. And then in 2 Peter 3:4-7, we have the account that Enoch and Noah were preaching righteousness during the time, during that period of grace where Noah was building the ark. 120 years plus. There's Noah's building of the ark is the testimony that something's going to happen. Noah in faith is building the ark in obedience to God's command. And to build a structure of that size certainly did not go unnoticed by his neighbors. So they have the evidence that something's happening. The scriptures tell us while he's building the ark during his 120-year period of grace, Noah, Enoch, and the others in the godly line of Seth are preaching to the lost people of the world. We also see the beginning of polygamous marriage. We have Lamech, who boasts to his two wives. He's also killed a man, and Cain is going to be judged, and he's going to be judged way beyond 7 times 70 or whatever the number was. Their polygamous marriage beginning. Also, those who study population believe that the population at the time of the flood may have been as many as 1.5 billion. That takes into account the longevity of life. We have these people living 900 years, 800 years. I don't know how many people can produce in 800 years worth of life, but also we have lots of them have multiple wives, and they start doing the geometric and exponential calculations that they do for population. They believe there may have been as many people on the earth then. Really, it starts to approach the numbers of 1.5 billion. That'll be a lot of people. And the people I've read, they take this number conservatively. They say maybe even a bit higher. Evidences for the flood. Last week I handed out a handout where we saw the universality of the flood legends. I don't have the copy with me, but if you looked at it, there were 35 legends from all over the world that have something to do with the flood. And then I went down a chart of all the common themes that these legends have. The theme common theme was there was a complete destruction by a universal flood. The next most common theme was that the judgment was as a result of God's displeasure with the activities of man, and then it was somebody is saved, and the earth is repopulated. All these commonalities. The higher critics would say, well, Noah's is just nothing more than drawing from these other legends, but I think the evidence is to the contrary. All legends and myths usually have some sort of a germ of truth in them somewhere back at the beginning, and it gets corrupted in time. So if you take all those legends and you start extrapolating backwards, you come back to the undeniable conclusion that something happened. There had to have been a flood. It's ingrained into the memory of mankind, this idea of the total destruction of man, and the fact that it was a result of divine judgment for the sin and wickedness of man. Also, this is interesting. I don't know what way to put on some of these things, but there have been persistent accounts of the existence of the Ark and Ararat, going all the way back. The earliest historians, Herodotus of Greek origin, Josephus, Berosus, he was a Chaldean historian. They all make reference to the Ark being on the mountainside. And we have more recent accounts, whether they can be verified or not, we can't be certain. But it appears that as the glaciers advance and recede, every now and then, as the glaciers recede, this thing sticks out of the glaciers, and these people claim to have been up there, scrape wood off, and make some special magic amulets out of them, that sort of thing. So this idea of the Ark being up on Ararat has persisted really for millennium, a couple thousand years. I think Herodotus was about 300 BC, so we're going back 2,300 years at least. So this continues to persist. Archaeology. We've shown that, especially in the Mesopotamian area, numerous cities have been excavated, and they've gone down through the various levels of civilizations. These little hills all over the place, these tells, are really the remains of succeeding civilizations. And back in those days, when a city would be destroyed by an invading army, they just level it out and build again on top of it. So you have strata of various civilizations, and they dig down through these to get to a certain point, and they hit 8 feet worth of archaeologically sterile clay and silt that's been laid down by fast-flowing water. They go down through that, get to the bottom of it, and they find another civilization below that that is much more advanced than the one on top of the silt. In geology, we're going to look at, I got a video today, it's going to be about 15 minutes long, so I got to make sure I save some time here. It's from the Answers in Genesis people. They do a really good video and explaining various geological evidences for the existence of the flood. And I find it to be very interesting. Now, a couple of things. As I was going back and revising my timeline, a couple of verses caught my eye, and I want to look at this with you a little bit. I don't know if anybody's, you guys all have these at home, the Strong's Concordance. If you don't have one, I would strongly recommend it. It's a great, it's the first thing I pull out when I start getting ready for a lesson. And when I was at Bob Jones going to the bookstore one day, I got this at an outrageously low price. They had a stack of them about 3.5 feet on the floor. They're for like $5. So, best investment I ever made. But, it goes through the Bible. It gives you every word in the Bible and every occurrence where the word occurs. Then they'll give you a key, a numbering system that tells you what Greek or Hebrew word the English word comes from, and you go into the back and you match it up with the key, and you can find the original Hebrew and Greek words, and you can see what the original meaning of the original word was, and you get a richer sense of the meaning of the word. It's difficult. I took German in college. It's difficult to translate from one language to another and get the exact sense from one word, like in German to English. It's a very difficult thing to do. So we like to go back to the original word and try to understand its meaning. And I find that it has enriched my understanding of some interesting verses. This one I find to be very interesting. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. So I thought this would be interesting to go back and let's do a word study on that, see what some of these key words mean, get an idea of what happened here. So I broke these down. Fountains comes from the Hebrew word mayan, mayanah, or mayana, means a fountain, a spring, or a well. Great comes from the Hebrew word rab, mighty abundant in quantity, size, age, number of rain. Deep, I found this to be very interesting. From the Hebrew word tom, or tom, and abyss, as in a surging mass of water, the main sea, the subterranean water supply. And then broken up from the Hebrew word bakah, means to cleave, to rend, to rip, to break open. And the windows translates as a lattice or a window or a sluice with openings for water. And then the heaven refers to the visible ark in which we see the clouds moving about, or this sort of dated Strong when he defined this. He said the ether through which the celestial body revolved. Before astronomy was well developed, they thought the earth was, or the outer space was full of ether. And then Patak, to open wide, appear, break forth, let go free, and unstop. So we see that in addition to the 40 days and 40 nights of continuous rain, there was a great breaking up of the subterranean water aquifers within the bowels of the earth. And I like this particular to cleave. Like you see the Lord with his divine cleaver cleaving the earth and breaking it asunder, and all this water under pressure just spills forth. I was reading one of the guys who was a geologist and oceanographer. He believes that the 40 days and 40 nights worth of rain actually provided a freshwater barrier in the seas, which allowed for the freshwater fish to survive the period of the flood, which I found to be interesting as well. So I think, this is my own opinion, I'm not going to be dogmatic or whatever, but I think the water that killed everybody was the water that killed the fountains of the deep. I just think it just overflew the earth, and I don't think it took very long. I wasn't there, but we've seen the damage that can be done by the tsunamis that hit in off the Indian Ocean a few years back, and once in Japan. It doesn't take very much for a good-sized wave to sweep in and pretty much tear the place to pieces. This was another one I found to be interesting. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. I thought that was interesting. What was that? It's funny, as I was working on this last night, Tim doesn't have any idea what I'm preparing for. So he came in and he sat down to talk to me. He said, Dad, I was looking at the map. It looks like if you take Africa and Europe, and North America and South America, and kind of move them together, they kind of fit together. I said, well, Tim, let me show you something. So I pulled this out, and we did a word study together, and I showed him this. I found this to be interesting. Peleg could be either as a small P or a large P, and that means either a rill, a small channel of water, that's an irrigation, a river, or stream. With a large P, it was earthquake. And then, of course, in his days, it would be a space of time. And the earth literally means the ground or the land outside the country. And Peleg, which I think is sort of a interesting play on words, is to split or literally or figuratively to divide something. So, is this where the continents came into existence? His name, taken in one sense, means an earthquake. And those who study geology and are creation scientists, they believe that along with the flood were great geological upheavals that were occurring in the earth, massive earthquakes, volcanic activity, the kinds of things that men had never seen before. And they also contend that the earthquakes and things that we see to this day really are the dim reminders of more massive quakes that were happening back then. So I find this to be interesting, and I find this to be interesting too, because it's still on Earth. All right, I got a video here. They've done a computer-generated simulation based on their understanding of scriptures and geology and what may have happened when the flood began. And then there's sort of an explanation by geologists and whatnot of some of the evidence around the world that supports the idea of the massive global flood. So, I'm not going to be dogmatic about this.
thick mud layers over continents, or coal seams covering entire states, or fossil graveyards, or frozen mammoths, or miles of underground cave passages, or thick ice sheets moving over continents, or craters of supervolcanoes, or canyons cut thousands of feet deep. It looks like the present is not the best way to explain the geological features of the past. The Bible, however, offers another way to explain features from the past. Noah's flood was a global judgment, a violent catastrophe upon the earth. Based on this truth revealed in God's Word, scientists are developing a series of models to explain how the flood and its aftermath could have shaped the world today. In the course of the flood, erosion washed away mountains of rock in some places, while miles of mud and sand were piled up in others. The earth's crust was thickened in some places and thinned in others. Like jostled ice cubes sink and bob up to their proper level in the water, some sections of land sank after the flood, while other sections rose. Supervolcanoes and superquakes rocked the world after the flood. As the centuries passed, the catastrophes became rarer and smaller. Modern earthquakes and volcanoes are dim leftovers from this violent period of Earth history. Dead organisms usually don't last long. Scavengers and bacteria consume them quickly. Soft tissues rarely last more than days or weeks, and hard parts like bones or shells only a month or two. But the rocks of Earth contain billions and billions of fossils, and in many places, millions of fossils are exquisitely preserved, even soft parts. How could this be? To preserve a body, it needs to be put in a safe place. Extremely cold or dry places would protect them, but most organisms don't live in those conditions. There is another solution: rapid burial. If a body is sealed from oxygen, out of reach of burrowing animals, then it has a good chance of fossilizing intact. Rapid burial is uncommon today, but there's much evidence of massive burials in the past. Not only are many fossils well preserved, they're found amidst very fine sediment layers. Fine layers rarely last in the present because all sorts of animals are digging around in the mud and soil, searching for food. In just a few weeks or months, the original layers are destroyed. But in the fossil record, churned up sediments are rare. If these sediments were laid down rapidly, however, they prevent burrowers from doing their job. And there are thousands of feet of such layers in the fossil record all over the world. This suggests that moving water laid down mud and sand rapidly over a wide area, and the process lasted several months. A year-long global flood, as described in the Bible, is the best explanation we know for the well-preserved fossils and fine layering throughout the rocks of the earth. Coal appears in vast deposits scattered over the continents. It is typically thought that such deposits require many thousands to millions of years to form. 10 feet of plant material is needed to make 1 foot of coal. Evolutionary geologists teach that most coal deposits are basically a result of peat building up in swamps over millions of years. And since peat accumulates very slowly in modern swamps, long periods of accumulation would be required at modern rates. But forming coal this way has problems. For example, the top and bottom of coal seams are usually flat, and thin layers of mud are often found within coal seams. In the present world, however, roots of plants in the swamp break up the peat layers and mess up any mud layers which might form. Tree trunks especially penetrate the swamp peat making it very uneven. Apparently, no modern process can explain how coal originated. The flood of the Bible, however, may provide an explanation. In the course of the flood, weeks of unceasing rains eroded away soil and plants, and rising seas and tidal waves destroyed the forests of the world. Some plants would be buried in place, some would be ground up and destroyed. Most, however, probably floated atop the floodwaters until they became waterlogged and sank to the bottom. A continuous rain of sinking plants could produce the thick layers of plant material needed to form coal beds. Undisturbed by growing plants, such layers would have flat lower and upper surfaces, and in between could be undisturbed layers of mud. Bark rubbing off logs would explain coals made of bark, and vertical trees sinking would explain stumps sitting atop coal layers without penetrating them. Both have been observed at Mount St. Helens. The flood provides an explanation for the origin of coal, consistent with an Earth only thousands of years old. The enormous coal reserves on our planet are a reminder and tribute to a beautiful and bountiful world now lost. On May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens, located 95 miles south of Seattle, Washington, erupted. The eruption was triggered by an earthquake centered beneath the mountain that measured 5.1 on the Richter scale. The lateral blast swept out the north side of Mount St. Helens at 300 miles per hour. With temperatures as high as 660 degrees Fahrenheit and the power of 24 megatons of thermal energy, it snapped 100-year-old trees like toothpicks and stripped them of their bark. Before the famous eruption at Mount St. Helens, scientists were mostly familiar with slow-acting examples of geologic change. But at Mount St. Helens, geologists watched the Earth's surface change quite rapidly. Icebergs were buried in hot avalanche material. They melted and formed badlands in days. Eruptions on May 18 and June 10 produced fine layers in hours. On June 10, mud flows cut zigzag canyons 100 feet deep in soft sand and mud, complete with perpendicular side canyons. Canyons that are reminiscent of the geography of Grand Canyon, only 40 times smaller and clearly produced within hours. Mud flows over the following decade cut hundreds of feet into solid rock in just days of cutting time. Fallen trees formed a log mat on the surface of Spirit Lake and dropped bark to the bottom of the lake, accumulating up to 3 feet of bark peat in just a couple of years. And vertically floating logs sinking to the bottom of the lake resulted in buried trees in only a decade, similar to the trees of Yellowstone's fossil forest, which are also buried in volcanic layers. Even though Mount St. Helens is a very small catastrophe compared to the flood or the major catastrophes immediately following the flood, it provides a better clue to what happened in those times than the slow geologic processes which are most commonly seen in the present. Rock layers are visible in mountains, plateaus, and canyons all over the world. Where do these rock layers come from? Present processes aren't the answer. Today, sand and mud are usually deposited in thin layers along the outer edge of continents. formation of fossils today is rare. But somehow in the past, thick layers of sand and mud were spread across entire continents and filled with well-preserved fossils. Noah's flood suggests a way to explain these puzzling features. Flooding the continents, for example, could carry sea creatures many hundreds of feet above present sea level. Anders Snell is a PhD geologist from Australia who has spent over 30 years studying rocks, working in the field and in the lab.
We find marine creatures buried at the top of the Grand Canyon, which is over a mile above sea level.
A global flood could carry sand and mud enormous distances.
Some of the sand grains that are in the Navajo sandstone had to have come from the Appalachians. But what river or what process today is carrying material from the Appalachians to the southwest?
A global flood could quickly lay down thick layers of mud and sand, burying even giant animals and tall trees.
We've got coal beds with trees sitting on them, and these trees, tree stumps, go through many strata, which means that before they could rot, you have to have lots of sand and mud coming in quickly. Several places in the Grand Canyon, 4,000 feet of different types of sand and mud and lime have been bent, and they've been bent while they're still soft. Both the bottom layer and the top layer are all bent the same way, which means the whole sequence of 4,000 feet of sand and mud and lime had to have been laid down very quickly by the waters and then bent very soon afterwards.
A global flood could form thick layers across entire continents.
In the Grand Canyon area, we've got limestone bed, the red wall limestone. The same limestone can be found over here in the eastern United States.
A global flood could cut deeply and widely.
We've got this huge flat surface at the rim of the Grand Canyon, which goes for thousands of square miles, where waters on a great scale of a vast area just swept over it and swept everything clean.
None of these processes, deep, wide erosion, or thick, rapid layering, or continent-wide distribution, or lifting of marine organisms above sea level, or sand carried across continents, occur in the present. Radically different processes are required, such as occurred during Noah's flood.